Well, I've just about completed the horizontal stabiliser tapes. I think I outsmarted myself a little bit. I bought a roll of 3-inch tape thinking that would be a much better proposition for going around this is the leading edge here. And in this straight bit, it is. It's really, really nice. Set down really well and everything else. But 3-inch tape doesn't go around corners as well as 2-inch tape. I may have been able to get away with 2.5-inch tape, but probably even better would have been 2-inch tape. Let's just have a look and see if we can see if the 2-inch tape would have sat down a bit better. I'm sure it would. Okay, so here's some 2-inch tape, about, I don't know, a foot or so. And I think it probably wouldn't have looked as nice if you put it on here. It probably wouldn't have looked as nice. It would have come back about there somewhere. But over here on the corner, on this curve, it would have sat down better. So if we put that there, you only have to shrink a little bit along this pinked edge and it would have pulled itself around. See, if you have the tape like this and you want to bend it, obviously this bit that's too big has got to shrink. And I'm pretty sure the 2-inch tape would have shrunk better than this 3-inch did. The 3-inch was just simply too big. It was too wide and it didn't shrink. The wider the tape, the more it has to shrink on this edge, and it just ran out of puff. It just couldn't shrink far enough. So that's a lesson for young players. I'm going to use it. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is the upper surface, and it's sort of semi-reasonable. I don't like these. There's a couple of them I don't like. The underside is worse than the top here. So when you're doing yours, 2-inch tape's not so bad after all, okay? I think the other, maybe the fin, but most of the other bits that I've got to cover will be 2-inch tape. You know, the elevators, for instance, is not 1-inch tube like this, or whatever diameter this tube is. It's quite big, but the elevator is actually just a thin tube. So 2-inch tape, or maybe even 1.5-inch tape, would go on the elevators and look about right, not look out of place. But anyway, I've got the trailing edge to do, and then just sort these corner pieces out, work out what I'm going to do with them to make them sit down, and then that's it. Game over. Well, I just finished putting the EcoBond sealer on. This is the horizontal stabiliser. Yesterday afternoon I did wash it with the degreaser, and so it's all ready to go. The only there's a couple of things. The drain holes, I haven't put drain holes in this yet, but I will put 3. I'll put one here somewhere, one about in the middle of this panel, and one in this corner for this panel on each side. So that has to be done. The mistakes, the 1.5-inch tape, the 3-inch tape is too big. It's fine here in this straight line. That's beautiful, no worries at all. And it's about proportional. It's about where I want it to come down to and overlap onto onto the fabric itself. But around this corner, the bigger tape just simply wasn't happy about taking the corner. It's just simply too wide, and it won't bend going around the corner. The 2-inch tape, in fact, would much better. It wouldn't look as good, but it would finish with a nicer appearance. So, and the other thing, the heavier fabric. This is, remember, I changed this. I've already covered this once, up to I think about this stage. The lighter grade fabric was much easier to work with, and it conformed a lot better. But the two reasons I did that: one, I made a mistake and I confused the reinforcing tape and the anti-chafing tape. I've corrected that now; it's all correct. And the other thing was that because of the heavier engine over here, with a great big two-bladed prop, it's going to be hammering the daylights out of the back of the aeroplane in particular. So the way to go is with a bigger fabric. This medium grade fabric is about right for GA style aeroplanes and probably the faster light sport aircraft. The Renegade, doing 80 knots in a vertical dive, doesn't need the heavier grade of fabric. But with that engine, I think it's imperative. So anyway, that's the little bit of an update for the time being. I'm just going to go let this dry, and I'll do something else this afternoon. The only bit that I've really got left, the only bits, is the fuselage and fin. They are one unit, so the two wings, the two lower wings, the two lower ailerons, and there's the elevator there in the corner, if you can see it. But that's all that's basically left to do. So this afternoon, or maybe no, later on this morning, I'll go back to working on this cowl. I've just about got it where I want it. So it's basically lock it in, take the cowl off, take the engine off, put the cowl back on, make it fit properly, take the cowl off, put the engine back on, put the cowl back on. So it, not much to do. These fairings, I might have to go back to working on these fairings for a bit as well. I want to install anchor nuts along where those clecos are. This will eventually be held on with 8-gauge screws and anchor nuts. But that's it. Perfect day outside. The wind's just starting to come up. It's been dead calm all morning. With any luck, this is the second last time the engine will actually be offered up. It goes on now. The plumbing has all been set up correctly, so it just needs to be connected. But the cowls, here's the cowl here, will have to be trimmed to give me some clearance around the engine. Just pluck a number out of the air. About 0.1 of an inch is what I'm trying to achieve. About 0.1 of an inch all the way around the engine frame. And yeah, I should be able to get that without any trouble. Once I've done the engine cowls, the engine can then come off, and that's it. The engine won't go back on again until after the aeroplane's painted and everything else. So we're getting closer and closer every day, a little bit more. I guess I can leave this run while I try and offer up the engine, but yeah, we'll see how we go. one's about right by the looks of things. The other side has to come up a little bit, but we'll get this one on first. Right. That was sort of a bit too easy. So what we can do, normally you'd have this thing, a little spacer and a nut. I think I'll just put the nut on, and that's just to stop the frame from moving away from the bolt. And we'll just stick that nut on there. Just with a couple of threads, doesn't need to be too serious. This one needs to go that way, and that other one needs to come up. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll bring the whole thing up. Yep. To about there, roughly. That's the second one in. It can be lined up. Well, no, it can't just at the moment. That one's got to go to the right a little bit. This one has to go. This one's pretty well lined up as well. Maybe down just ever so slightly. Actually, I'll put this nut on first, if it wants to do it. Yep, that'll want to do it now. And push it on properly. Yep. And start and put those spaces in. Make sure we're not squashing any hoses or anything, which is pretty good here. Pretty good there. Yep. I think the nut really isn't required this time. We just go straight for the spacer. The whole lot needs to be pushed back on towards the airframe. We've got another way we can go. We can just use a whole bunch of washers and pull it in with the proper nuts. I'll just do these top ones, and the bottom one's got no option but to follow. There's 4, I don't know, 9 washers, maybe more. Yeah, that's probably enough. Put the nut on and do it up. bottom one must be, yep, going in at a similar pace. As with the spacer, it can just take the nut straight away now. Maybe even a washer. Right, I'll just check the other side, make sure it's going as well. And oh, yeah. The bottom one can go straight with the spacer. And a washer. Just grab a, I'll use this nut. Okay, that one's firm. That one needs a nut, which is right there. Firm. That's all, I'm going to do them up anyway, there's no sense in talking them up. This bottom one can go down. It's firm. And this top one was already firm, but it's got 987 washers on there. We just get them off and put the proper spacer in there. Wow, they all came out. Put that on. Maybe a washer. And that's it. That's all four of them sort of firm. Yep. Yep. And yep. Now the crane can go away. Beautiful. Like I say, next time it goes on will be for keeps. It'll be on there for a little while now, while I'm still doing a few things. But it won't be long. It won't be long and the engine will be off. So I can put the fuselage in the rollover stand, so I can install the fabric and paint it and everything else that's got to happen. There we go. That's how difficult it is to rig the engine with a couple of bits of rope and an engine lifter. Not real difficult. Now the next thing for me is to make sure the cowling fits properly, which I'm sure it will. But the top of the cowling fitted beautifully before, that's why the bottom didn't fit quite perfectly, so that's why I just took it off and moved it. This is the throttle and choke that I'm playing with here. Those cables, the throttle and choke cable have been run, but not connected properly yet. That's it. It's as strong as an ox. Crane can go out of the way. And there we go. Done. Okay, here it is Thursday morning. Time for a little bit of an update before I make the video for the end of the week update. The cowl is on. It's in the right position. It's been trimmed, so there's a gap here, if you can see there, not very well. There's a gap between the cowl and the engine of about, I was aiming for about 0.1, maybe a little bit bigger than 0.1. And that's pretty consistent for the top half. The bottom half obviously can't be the same gap, or you just wouldn't get the cowl on. It's as simple as that. There has to be, especially on the sides, there has to be some gap on the sides of the cowling. But it's pretty much on. It's in its final position. The next, the next step for the cowling will be to run the engine and make sure that it maintains clearance. I can't point it out very well. That it maintains clearance between the cowl and the engine frame, the engine itself rather, because the engine's going to rock and roll a bit once you start it up, and I want to make sure that it maintains clearance. If it does, I can either leave it the way it is, because I think it'll work just fine. The area at the front of the cowl is way less than the area at the back of the cowl, so whatever air does seep in there will get back out again. It'll be able to, it won't pressurise the cowl. But I may also put rubber to fill that small gap, and the rubber would just be like the rubber on any engine baffle kit. There is one more, there's two more things actually. One more hose that needs to come through the cowling. I'll spin you around and show you that. Maybe. Well, that's about the best view I can get. What we're trying to do, this is the, I'll call it a scavenge sump. There's a fitting on the back of it and a corresponding hose on the inside of the cowling. That hose runs up to the scavenge pump, which is located up at the back of the engine. Oil from the rocker covers, from these rocker covers, drains down via these black rubber hoses here and gathers in that sump. Maybe some oil from elsewhere gathers in that sump also. That hose that should be connected to this sump sucks the oil back up via a scavenge pump and puts it back in the tank, back in the oil tank. So it's fairly important that that hose be connected. So somehow I've got to run a connection through the cowl and up to that. But that's the second last major that I need to run and install. The actual last is the cylinder head temperature indication. The cylinder head indication runs to this bolt here. Actually, if my pointer was up the other way, it might be a bit better. You can see this bolt is loose. So somewhere here in the back of the cowling, we need to run the instrument indication wiring across to that. And if there has to be maybe a split in the cowling from here up to wherever that comes through, then so be it. That's what I'm going to have. That needs a little bit more work because there's also eventually there'll be a heat shield on this cowling with some standoffs to just get me away from the cowling a few millimetres. The air will come up and flow along the cowling and under the heat shield, which will essentially shield us against the heat from the exhaust system. That's the intention anyway. How it goes, nobody knows. But anyway, that's where we are with relation to the cowling. Just for detail work, I come around here a little bit. These, now I have countersunk rivets. I could have put countersunk rivets here, but I didn't. I put universals because it more matches the vintage look of the aeroplane with universal rivets. I use all my blacksmithing tools here or blacksmithing skills to bend this wire. Eventually there'll be an anchor nut on the inside, maybe a backing plate, a metal backing plate that'll be riveted on here with an anchor nut through that hoop and one screw. But that's it. You want to take the cowl off, you take the screw out. This will be on the outside of the fabric. The fabric will go underneath here. Pull that pin out. Remove, there's 4 bolts on the top and there's another one of these on the other side. Take those out and the upper cowl should lift off. Or you take that out, take the 4 bolts out of the bottom and the lower cowl should come off. It'll work. One other piece of update. This is my elevators, or elevator. The first, the lower piece of fabric has been installed, has been attached along this leading edge of the elevator. As you can see, the fabric's not been attached at the bottom, it's just loose at the moment, but it is attached along the top. The next step is to bring it around, cut it off, glue it on the bottom, and then it can have its first shrink, and then do the same with the fabric on the other side. This is the heavier grade of fabric, which I decided to go to rather than use the the light grade fabric. I think it'll stand up a lot better. That's just me. You please yourself in how you do yours. Those clamps were just simply to hold the fabric underneath the leading edge. It's not they're not totally necessary, but they can all come off now. Yeah, and the fabric is glued under there. So that's it. Today I'll go around, cut them off, glue them on, put the other skin on probably, and then tomorrow I'll finish the other skin off, and then the tapes will go on. So it's going forward. Just look at this. I know you won't believe this. No intersect fairings. The intersect fairings have been removed. They need to be fiberglassed, which they're in the throes of having that process done right now, and I can't show that to you. They'll go back on when I get them sorted. They'll go back on, and wherever the holes are around here, there's holes that go through the intersect fairings and also through this skin. They'll be drilled out to full size, and they'll have anchor nuts installed at each of those locations so that I can put screws in. You know my feelings on PK screws or sheet metal screws. I'm not using them. It's as simple as that. I just won't use them. They don't belong on an aeroplane. Come down here a little bit. You might be able to see a green line here. It's on both sides, on the other side of the aeroplane as well. When the wings do come off, which is very, very close to that happening, I will trim back to the green line to give me plenty of clearance, because the fabric is going to be glued on here, and it's going to go inside the fuselage. There'll be fabric that will go inside the fuselage, and there needs to be clearance so that vibration doesn't cut through the fabric. And at the moment, there's clearance enough, but it's not enough to fit the wing, but it's not enough to give me clearance on the fabric. So no, it's going together. It's coming along quite well. Obviously, I've got quite a few anchor nuts to fit, but that's where we are, and that pretty much concludes the update. All of the other parts you may or may not be able to see through the window of my tent there. There are green parts all waiting to be painted. They'll get the high build treatment, the grey treatment, and then the primer. There they are, all there, waiting. And then they'll get their actual colour. So it is advancing, believe it or not, instead of, glacial pace, but I'm happy with the pace. It's a pace that I can keep up with. Well, here it is, Friday afternoon again. Couple of tiny updates. The wing root fairings are on. They've actually been fiberglassed up. The clecos are still in. My next job on those fairings is to take the clecos out and install anchor nuts. The same thing will happen just here on this little panel. I'm going to install a panel like this on each side. The one on the other side's still vacant. The reason is, this is where the panel will go, just here. The reason is so that I can reach in through there to my modified dog bowl. Underneath that dog bowl is the air filter, the engine air filter. there's actually no way, it's not installed at the moment, so you can't see it under the cowl anyway, but there's no way it will come out from the engine side. Yeah, it has to come out this way, and I can't see me being upside down inside the front cockpit, mixing up with the stick and everything else to try and get the cover off that dog bowl, which is screwed on with anchor nuts. I just can't see me doing it. So, no, these two little panels, they'll come off with whatever, 10 or 12 screws, whatever it is, and I'll reach in there and unscrew the dog bowl, take it off, and remove and clean the air filter. Yeah. There's nothing further than what I've already videoed, just those two little jobs. Yeah. This one is essentially finished. It just needs to be deburred, riveted. The outer row of plecos here will be rivets, and these ones inside here will be anchor nuts and screws. Just exactly the same as this one, which will give me access to behind the instrument panel. Just the same as this one, which will give me access to the brake master reservoir. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Getting closer and closer. But yeah, I'll hook in and probably do the other panel, finish this one and do the other one tomorrow. And that's about it for the week. So yeah, have a good weekend. Enjoy your flying whatever you get up to, so long as it involves aviation, should be a good thing. All right, catch you then. Bye now.